Hello, and welcome to the new episode of Borderline Podcast Disorder. It's been so incredible to do this so far. I've had a look at the, you know, um, insights at the analytics, and we're slowly but steadily, getting up and up more and more, and that's truly incredible. And I appreciate every single one of you listening to this. And I appreciate a lot the people who take the time to be my guests here as well. That's pretty awesome. And I'm very grateful for it. Now, I've just came back from Romania last night. And yeah, it's been incredible. I think me and my partner, we went together to Romania. She met my sister, and she met my close family basically, and it was beautiful. I've realized I miss them a lot. I get very homesick sometimes because of it, not necessarily because of the place or because of the other people, but just because of my family, some of my family. I've also had some very interesting conversations with my sister about, you know, the reason why I feel, I guess, so strongly towards other family members. I have a lot of rage, I have a lot of anger, and I just feel uncomfortable speaking with some of them, and we kind of addressed that, to an extent. We talked about it, and she had some very interesting points to make, some observations that I found interesting. I think I realized I was very comfortable with my own choices in regards to, again, how much do I care about the family, or like who are the people that I care about. And that was good. That was good to see, that was good to listen, that was good to know. And I cried a lot. Yeah, I think three nights I went to sleep crying. First night I just thought that after my partner met my uncle, my dad's father, who's the only person from my dad's family that I keep in touch with. Not only that I keep in touch with, but I absolutely love. Is one of my favorite people, and yeah, my partner loved him, and he loved her, and I kind of wish for my dad to be there, even though I had a very, very interesting conversation with my sister about our dad, and found out some things that I guess that weren't nice to hear, but it was interesting to hear because, to me, my dad was such a huge, hero, was such an incredible character, and then to figure out that some people didn't see him like that for a very long time, and to get some reasons why that was the case, it was just mind blowing. I'm still baffled. I'm still processing it now as we speak. It's really, yeah. It was so bizarre. It was so strange. And then, yeah, going to my mom's grave and to my dad's grave, and to really take some time and, remember them, and know as if I'm forgetting them sometimes, but taking some time. And I'm not a religious person. Like, I don't pray, and all I really do is just try and pretend I'm having a conversation with them in my mind. And yeah, it was really difficult. Maybe difficult is not the word actually. It was just interesting. I never thought I'd say it, but I actually want for myself to do well, to be able to visit my hometown even more, and to actually, I just want to spend more time with their graves. Sounds bizarre, and maybe, I don't know, scary or just weird, but um, if you were inside my head, you'd see why it's not. It's just I think it's a very valid emotion, to just want to be there. I love lighting up the candle, at their grave. I love taking some time to just be quiet around there, and yeah, that was that was heavy, and I just felt so happy in the other times when I've seen how my partner and my family were getting on so well. I got a couple of cousins. They are the loveliest kids in the world, and we spent some time with them. And one of them speaks English. The other one, she's a bit too young to speak English well, so. They kind of understood each other, my partner and my cousin, but it was just beautiful. They were getting on so well, and we were playing with my family's cat, William, and Kimi, the dog. And Kimi was just this like naughty little dog, and she was just running around all the time. Um, and that was just adorable. But yeah, we visited some places. We went to some markets. I've seen also some things I didn't like. I mean, it was quite funny that you'd see how, I don't know, people jump queues, and some people are treated like, some people have to look out for the police, while to some other people the police don't care about them. But it was also brilliant to just walk around. And I went to a church where my parents used to donate money when they were around, or well, actually when we were doing well. And then I went to the synagogue as well, to see it. I haven't seen it since I was a kid. I haven't actually been inside since I was, God, 8, I think. So, yeah. But anyway, I don't want to, and I'm not going to rumble anymore today. But I'll just crack on. You're up to listen to a great episode. I think Rick is it's a brilliant guy. He was such a lovely person. Ever since I met him and I got to talk to him, we are both Eagles fans, and I know it's not been even though it started as if it was going to be our year. We got knocked out so quickly and painfully from the NFL playoffs, but it's okay. I mean, it's sad because I always wish for Kelsey to win another ring, but it's fine. He's still a legend. I still love him. I still love, everyone in the Eagles team. But yeah, anyway, so that's something that I guess, I got to create a bond with Rick the first time I met him, by the fact that we are both Eagles fans. Besides of that, we did couple of gigs together. He's always been great there, but he's also doing so much work, and he's been acting. He's been acting for ages, and he's got some really cool stuff coming up as well. So yeah, give this episode a listen. Follow him on his socials, and I'll catch you later. Enjoy the episode. Okay, so hello, Rick. Welcome.
Hello, Levi. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going all right. Thank you. Thanks for doing this. How's your week been so far? I mean, wait, it's just the beginning of the week, actually.
Is it? I don't know. It's holiday time, so it's it's kind of like a rabbit hole of time, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like everything is moving really fast, and then the beginning of the year comes and everything just slows down.
Yeah.
But like drastically, it's like someone pushing the brake in a car last second.
Well, I'm looking forward to the slowdown, because at the moment it's been go for me. So it's been very busy. So
nice. How's it? What was like the? Because I know you've done the Yellow Christmas, right?
Yeah, I've done Yellow Christmas, the first one, which was at Downstairs King's Head, which was on the 12th, which was really great. And I've been doing this I started off with the Yellow Christmas. Actually started off with the Asian UK comedians Christmas drinks. That was started in 2014, and then I decided I wanted to get all of the East Asian comedians and together for drinks because there wasn't that so I got 8 people, and there was 8 of us at the time. It was Nigel Ong and Phil Wang and Eureka and Rialina, and yeah, it was only like 8 of us and Amanda Baker. So we got together, and then over time, I thought, well, we should probably have a show, and I started that, and because there wasn't that much representation as far as sort of East Asian sort of comedians at the time, and I thought, well, let's start that, and I love it because once you have everybody who's of the same sort of race, then you really your stories come out and people focus on the stories, and that's what I really love about that. It's a bit like Monet's haystacks, he did loads of studies just using the haystack, but different light, so you could concentrate on the light.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's what it kind of is with this. So you could see if we look a bit like haystacks. So
Wow, but that's no, I mean that's really impressive. I mean it's nice to bring again like people together. I've seen the posters,
Yeah.
and I've seen you've got brilliant acts, and it sounds like you had even people who then took off like on a huge level,
Yeah,
and
trajectory. But they were already, like people like Phil, uh, they were already on a trajectory anyway, which I think is great. But it's just good to have a place where, I mean, I did have one act say, well, all of the acts are Asian. What am I going to do? I'm saying, I don't know. You're the professional comedian. You do what the fuck you want. But that's the whole point of it. It's demonstrating and showing to people that there's more than one way of being Asian. So
that's
it
it.
is very
Yeah.
lovely. So it's in the 7th year now, and I've got a final one that's coming up for this year on the 12th, and so I'm looking forward to that at Angel.
Nice. I mean, it sounds good, and I've seen and I've met some of the comedians performing as well.
Hmm.
They are, and I rate everyone that I know. Yeah, I rate them very highly. So
Yeah, I mean, also it's to not only do the people who are given opportunity for those who are maybe newer as far as acts,
yeah,
and what it does is actually kickstarts them in thinking, because you don't want to have somebody follow somebody who's like really really experienced, but it's also quite good as part of an education, because I'm a bit like that. I do like throwing people together and seeing how they'll react, because I need to be amused as well,
yeah, absolutely. No, and
So
have you run any other put like any other shows together before, or is that like your main and only?
no, I mean, yes, I've done hour shows and things like that. I've done, I've gone to Edinburgh and things like that, but this is something that I've been doing, and surprisingly, people still like doing them. I mean, I don't know how relevant it is today still, because Asians be killing it right now. But I think that it is the feedback that I've been getting from the comics has been that they still enjoy doing it, and this past year, I think it had a little bit of a stutter because of COVID and things like that. But because I wanted to do Leicester Square Theatre, because I think there is a big market for this.
Yeah,
And I mean, the main thing that I get out of it is seeing the comedians together and
yeah,
working and learning from each other. But also, I've had people come up, East Asians, white people, black people, but just coming up and saying, I've never seen that before, where you have somebody who, an Asian person getting up on and just being a human being. And I think that's really important. And sometimes people don't really get to see that often, or have the confidence to, as far as from an act's point of view,
yeah.
to just sort of say, oh, right, okay. within the context of the world,
Yeah.
this is this is um, this is what we're how we're seen, what we represent, and yeah, it's really fun. It's social experiment to a certain degree.
I mean, yeah, and I think I always get really I don't know. I get into this kind of sort of like complex where I've seen it for other. I think even TV shows, and you see it even in like theater work, where you have, say, like for example with the East Asian community, but then you also realize that it's not just because sometimes I think as an outsider you have this idea of like you know. East Asian, and you have like one voice in your head, and you think like of again a black person, you have one voice in your head. You think of a white person, you have one voice in your head. Well, maybe not so much with a white person, but
Hmm.
um, it's interesting to actually see, like again, like you said, the different voices that are actually a part of the same community, and you see, I think even the different types of comedy that can also be made. Because I think when people think about like inclusivity in comedy, it's always about you know. What? Well, yeah, it's either like to have like one male and one female, but it's also like what type of comedy does that individual do as well? Because that's also changing the inclusivity, right? Because if you have like a
Right.
musical act, and then you have I don't know, like a storyteller, and then you have like a one-liner, and then
Yeah.
they all combine together, and you can actually see different ways of doing comedy, and it's
Sure.
yeah, it just makes like the picture so much bigger, I think.
Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, I think that's probably where good promoters come in to play, where it is they're putting together a cast
Yeah,
almost, and they'll start off with the MC will be not just a very personable person, but also somebody who just lays out the rules of what's going to be happening and letting people know what's happening in the show. But yeah, and then you can have this palette of humor, and I think that's part of having a really successful sort of show, and people enjoying themselves
yeah.
w- when you have a mixed bill of some sort.
Yeah, I can see that a lot. And you were saying earlier that you've done Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Um, when is it? Have you done it this year as well?
No, I don't think that it. I mean, I did it in 2017. I did No More Mr. Rice Guy. And then the year before, I did a two-hander and another one called Chink. And then I've done other sorts of hours over the past years, one of which was the Prototype Diaries, where I used 20 years of my diaries. And people from the audience come up and read excerpts, and then I sort of riff off on anecdotes. And these are diaries aren't meant to be read or anything like that. I've actually did a podcast pilot for the BBC on this, so we'll see what happens.
Seriously?
Yeah,
Oh my god, that sounds cool.
yeah, it is good. It's a bit frightening, but it's also because it's not been done before, and it's something that it's highly challenging for me when I'm doing an hour of this, where number one, there's the practical issues that you have to watch out that you can't be libelous, or you just be aware of um, people's feelings, and the subject matter. You can cover everything from suicide to cancer to what kind of jeans you wear, because you just don't know.
Yeah.
It's a real mix. Or if you support Philadelphia Eagles, or it's really the art of it is to make it. It's personal, but it's personal, and it touches everybody's world. That's the whole the art of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but how did you? I got an idea, but how did you get around it? Like, what I guess inspired you to do this?
Well, I mean, obviously, throughout one's life, it's a lot of experience what I've done. I mean, I wasn't always in comedy. I had changed. I've had relationships, and just like everybody else,
Yeah, of
different kind
course.
of work, and children, and people move away, people die. It's just, people get haircuts. You change, and it was just something that I always felt that there is this hunger uh, for authenticity, and you can see that, and that's something that's bandied about in the comedy world quite a lot. And I think it's inflated, and some people have lost uh, what what that actually means. So, in authenticity, just to be real, just to that level of jeopardy,
Yeah.
and on stage, that's the magic you see, and often I think a lot of people who there's an audience out there who hunger for that. So even on, let's say, talk shows or podcasts, I think that's why that has taken over to a certain degree, because it's can be less scripted, right? Because I think the closest thing for me on a talk show was John Bishop, in a way, because I thought he was very, very he would sort of extract things that maybe because he sort of had that empathy, and then that's why people are going to podcasts, because they think that, oh, well, this is less scripted, this is something, and I feel that that's very true. But I think that in that podcast idea, or in that show idea of Prototype Diaries, prototype because we're all a work in progress, is the fact that when you give something that maybe maybe you didn't mean to or didn't want to talk about, your guest will also actually give something that they didn't probably expect or think
Oh.
about. So it's a natural interaction sort of thing. What's going to happen if somebody actually it's like, oh, okay, I didn't, and not to take over the conversation,
Yeah.
but to sort of use it as a starter for someone.
Yeah.
So that's where that idea came from, and yeah, so that's what's I've been doing. I've done that show about 10, 15 times for a live audience, and every show is different because you don't know what you're going to be talking about.
Yeah. Wow. And what was it? I guess what was it like? Like what was your experience with it then? Like what did you I guess find from it?
It
Or
was it's always very, number one, it's always very quick, and it's also, you never know how it's going to be received. And there are some technical sides of it which I haven't worked out, because I have literally an old 1930s case, and you open it up, and inside are all these A6 diaries with all these various, on the cover of each diary, I'll write an anecdote, which I find that sort of relates to the diary after I've written it. So whether it's about I don't know, some of them, I don't know if Woody Allen's, 80% of success is showing up, things like that. So I'll have that, or I'll have a quote from Bruce Lee, or it can be somebody famous. It could, maybe it's not, it could be anything. And then people come up, and I'll have them flip through it, and I'll say stop, or I'll have the audience say stop, and they'll try to read something from it, and it could be unintelligible in its handwriting or whatever. But I work off from that, and like I said, it'll be one situation where it was somebody had gone into a section where I'd been hired at a particular ad agency, and but the person who hired me left, and so I realized that I was in a situation where everybody around me disliked me because they hadn't hired me. And then I looked out in the audience, and like I'd seen, I don't know, 4 or 5 faces dotted around the audience going, that happened to me. And so I can go off and I can talk about that and, well, joke about it.
yeah.
And so that's what happens. Or the last one we did, we talked about dentistry and NHS dentistry, because I had some, so we talked about that, and obviously everybody either fear of dentistry or whatever.
Oh
So we
God,
talk about that.
I talk about fear of dentistry. I had to go to an NHS dental hospital once,
Wow.
just because I had to get like tooth extractions,
Oh,
but I was too scared of the dentist,
yeah.
and they had to they had to give me like a stronger sedative, I guess.
Yeah.
But then I had a nurse had to stay with me and like hold my hand throughout.
Yeah. That's scary.
Yeah, and at some point she wanted to leave, and I was like, no. I think because after they extracted the first one, she's like, "Oh, you're doing great. You're doing great.
Yeah.
We got one more, and that's it." And I could feel her trying. I was like, "No."
The thing is, even when you have the anesthetic in, it's just the feel of the vibration of the drill, and your brain is like, "What the?" Or the
Yeah.
I mean, dentistry. I mean that. That is something.
I think because you were asking me earlier before I pressed record, but I was born in Romania.
Oh, I
and
see.
I had this like I have actually like a dental nurse in my family, my aunt. But the dentist that she was working for, he was my like dentist growing up, and he like put this like huge fear of dentist on me, because I remember him specifically saying, if he hurts, just like tap my hand and I'll stop.
Yeah.
And he didn't stop. And because I don't know, like, but yeah, like Eastern European, I think Eastern European anything, it's kind of like, just shut up, let's get done with it.
Yeah.
I got to move on. I got to do things.
Is that like Romanian comedy? Did you experience Romanian comedy like from like Radu or anybody else?
Well, the thing is, I've spoke. Luckily, I've actually.
Because there was lots of stuff happening about a decade ago. I mean,
Yeah, I heard, and I know that, again, the thing is, because I only started doing comedy like 2 years ago.
UK.
Yeah, and I mean, well, because I started 2 years ago. I kind of like I lost. I don't know. I lost, but I kind of like I was late to the party, and
Right.
I think in the meantime I did message Radu, and he was kind enough to reply, on social media, because I was asking him I think about the Eastern European comedy night, but then I think everyone else, and I heard of them like Victor Petrushkan and stuff, and I've seen him on like Romanian TV, and he's doing well, and I think I've met a couple. No, actually, I've only met two Romanian comics.
Yeah.
Since I moved to London. When I was in Manchester, I didn't meet anyone
Yeah.
that was Romanian.
Yeah.
It was quite like, it was interesting, because I think actually when I came to London, I heard this thing in like my first weeks in London, where it was like, someone like rolled their eyes and was like, there are loads of Romanian comics. And I was like, where? Because I came from Manchester, and like there were none.
I find because I've met I forgot his name, but he knew Radu, and because I did some gigs in Bratislava, and
No way.
yeah, and it was he said, "Oh, hello to." In fact, last night I gigged with Radu at Top Secret, so I find that it's fascinating, the Romanian sort of mindset, because I know Victor as well, and I find the culture. There's something about that is very British.
You think?
I know there's the Eastern European sort of side of it, but there's a very stoic sort of element to Romanians, and I find that that's quite close to, it could be said, close to sort of British culture in that way. I'm not necessarily. I mean, there's other things that it's wrapped in class system and whatnot, but I mean, and perhaps my side is that I've probably met very enlightened Romanians as well, very well educated Romanians, but comedians as well. But I found that there's a cultural sort of link, like even sort of like Finnish comedians. There's a certain link to British culture and sense of humor. I mean, as opposed to, let's say, Americans.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's the dark, whether it's the stoicism, whether it's like just get on with it, or
which I usually find actually quite interesting, because the first person who told me that, like the Romanian comics are similar to like British comics, but one thing that I found really surprising is that growing up, I think before I came to England, and even like long after I came to England, I didn't
know like any British comedians
Yeah.
for ages because in Romania you have American comedians. Like I grew
Yeah.
up with, what actually, which is funny. George Carlin used to be banned from Romanian television.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I remember just like watching videos of him on YouTube, and because I grew up in a very like religious family,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh no, this guy might have a point. And it was funny because I think at school you weren't allowed to talk about George Carlin. Like you weren't allowed to, and again, only when YouTube came out, you could actually see videos of George Carlin on the internet. But yeah, the point was that it's actually interesting you say that because again, I don't know. Maybe it's changed now, but I even look at my like nephew and my sister. They are in Romania, and I mean, they're not really like into comedy anyway. But like, still, if you go on like Netflix, like most watched things,
Yeah.
you'll still have American comedians.
Yeah.
So it's actually quite interesting that yeah, because actually I think when I came in at the beginning, someone did give me the feedback saying that you'll do well with like because it was like you have a very like British way or like it's very. It's what English crowds would like to see and like to see,
Yeah.
and I was like, "What?" Because my inspiration, the people who inspired me to do comedy, are American,
Yeah.
and it's
Well, I
very
mean,
interesting.
a
Yeah,
lot of people have been inspired by American comics. I think it's, I mean, still to this day, it's the benchmark. I think, in as much as the level of writing, and I think what happens is you can see that if you go to New York and you do the open mic slots where you can do the open mic slots. I think that you can see really terrible comedians, but also really, really good comedians at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. It's 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 one of those things where there's not a lot of middle ground, right? Whereas I'd say here in the UK, there's a lot of people who are in the middle ground that earn a living and
yeah,
from comedy. But I think what happens is they really revere the writing in the US and in North America, and you can see where people who come over from North America, Canadians, Americans, you can see that in their writing, and that's why they're all often propelled very quickly because they've gone through that sort of
yeah,
schooling and that sort of. I mean, if you're doing an open mic in Brooklyn with 70 comedians doing 3 minutes, you need to it is
sharp, right?
it's super sharp,
Yeah,
even though it looks not sharp, because some people who will look here, they'll think, oh, they're just like chatting. It's like no, it is performance pyrotechnics and incredible writing. Don't get phased by that. Still try to keep that element.
yeah.
I'm just chatting to you, but it is. Oh yeah, it's super sharp. Yeah.
And I think this is one of the biggest even now like struggles for me because I do storytelling and I write and actually I do the same thing over and over again. I try to like perfect it, and I think I've noticed when I started and I was just like telling a story, but it was just very long. And I remember even now when I speak sometimes with like comedians who are visiting from America, and they're like, oh yeah, you do like 3 minutes, and I was like, how do you do 3 minutes? Because to me at the beginning I was like, 3 minutes it would take me to like two punchlines,
Yeah.
and that's it. It time's up. It's wild to think about it. But also, like, what made you? I guess what made you like want to and like be in London? What made you want to?
Well, I came initially to this country for love. That's what.
Nice.
That's what happens, really. There's no real focus on because I thought I'd come over here, go to university, go back home, take that sort of knowledge, and go back to sort of Jersey, Philadelphia, and
Big up
it
Philadelphia.
never really happened. I mean, I had children. It just sort of, and I've stayed, So it was. I wouldn't do it differently now. It was. I mean, obviously, you live your life and shitty stuff happens, but it's
Yeah.
kind of like. I think the most it's it's just acknowledging that you live your life and it's stuff happens and sometimes not so nice stuff, and it's just the way you handle it.
Yeah.
It really is, and that works on the stage as well. It's how you handle it. It's not the energy, it's how you handle it.
Yeah.
And it could be simple. It could be just stating the facts, or that, oh, you're very drunk, or or you're knitting because that's your therapy for a brain injury, but you're doing it in a comedy club, and that's fine. I'm cool with that. It really is how you handle it, I think.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah, fair enough. And what made you what drove you into comedy?
Well, I had initially I'd worked in advertising for about 15 years, and during that time, as a writer and as a creative director and all this in various ad agencies, I had always done things at night to keep my brain flexible. So I would take a course on history or film or acting, and I took one night class in stand up. And I thought, oh, this is interesting, because it was something that you'd get an insight or you notice an observation about someone, and then, or something, or some behavior, and then you would write it and think about it, and then just perform it. There was no middleman, and it was kind of the first point where it really appealed to my creative sensibilities, and I'd always sort of toyed with it. And the thing is, I don't do it for money, as I'm sat here, Levi, right? It's not for money, but it just does push you in a way that it's very unexpected ways. Like, I learned a lot about myself through comedy, and it also opened doors to acting and other things.
And actually, because this is what I was going to ask you earlier, which I find incredible, that because I've been told, I think during lockdown, when I started seeing a therapist for the first time, to start journaling. I never thought about it. And then the actually something that really made like blew my mind earlier was that you had like journaling notes and like all these diaries. How did you get into like a writing diary? Like, what made you actually even keep the diaries? Because I have so many like notebooks with like half a sentence on, and then I end up throwing them away or something.
Sure. I just did it because I find that when you're going through troubled times, or like whether it's divorce or anything like that, if you start journaling, I mean, I had journaled anyway for a long period of time, because not journaled, but because at the time I was thinking, oh, this is very practical, because you start comedy, so I carried around like one book for character references for plays, films, ideas, or whatever, one book of jokes, one book of what I was doing all day, and then sort of just one book of sort of like ad ideas, or just ideas or observations. And then I realized it was all one book. So I just started writing, and it is not something new, in as much as there's a famous book, The Artist's Way, which is your morning pages, where you just write sides, around 4 sides every morning, and but I think it's really, really important, because it's not meant to be read. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be legible, but you just need to do it. And I find in The Artist's Way, you're supposed to do it, every morning. And I think there's a lot of comics who actually do it still, because you will find little gems in there, because it's the subconscious. And what I found was, I did it for a few months. I still do it it's kind of in my own way. But you find that during the day, you communicate very sort of clearer. You articulate clearer than you would if you didn't do your morning pages. That's the sort of result that I found because you got all the crap out already of your brain,
Yeah.
and it is quite. It's not. It feels near magical.
Yeah.
But it just makes sense because once you get that out, if you went and you talked to your mate for 5 minutes a day, you'd get all that shit out, and it's like, all right, you're pretty focused. You
Yeah.
know? But also, I think that it's important. It's in as much as it's not really in the artist way, but I find that when you do that and you're able to do that, that you can come about, and once you prick your subconscious, that's where all the best ideas and the best material is. So, because that means you'll be touching upon everybody else's thoughts. Oh yeah, I think I had that. It's like when somebody in the audience says, "Oh my God, that happened to me." Yeah, yeah, it's happened to you. But it's just it's been something that's been gurgling away for a long period of time.
It's because I found it for me. It helps me out a lot when for example, in September, October, I was having a rough time, so I started like journaling every morning. And one of the things I really struggled with was like words of affirmations.
Yeah,
and I still struggle. I do it when I brush my teeth every morning still,
yeah,
and
great.
It's great. But at the beginning, I'm like, oh, what's happening? But then I actually did realize because. As I mentioned earlier, I have something called borderline personality disorder, right?
Yeah.
So one of the skills that I've learned during sort of therapy called dialectual behavioral therapy, it's a skill called describe the emotion.
Yeah.
And it's literally because, sometimes it was this idea of, oh, I don't feel good. And then it's like, well, describe what does not good mean. Like, do you feel sad? Do you feel angry? Do you feel... And instead of going like, no, I feel too much. No, just focus on one thing. And I think what you were saying before and I also what I've noticed because of doing like the describe the emotion a lot, it makes me be like more... clear in like what I want and what I'm saying and what I do, just because I can just think of, okay, this is what I want and this is how I'm going to get it, rather than, oh, I want this, no, I want this, and oh, actually this is happening as well. And comedy-wise, apparently Jerry Seinfeld had this bit where he was saying that he loves writing notes because I think he was saying something like he sees his dream as a pipeline that, if you don't take the idea out and you write it, it just blocks like what's behind it.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you just gotta, because even if it's like a silly, I don't know, pun, or even if it's something like that goes nowhere, if it's just a thought in your head, he will still write it down, because then it allows room for other thoughts to come out.
I mean, it's so important how you articulate things, because that's how you formulate how you approach something, or how you create a memory. I mean, this is NLP in a way. It is something that, for example, I often think, I was on the bus and I was going to Museum of Comedy or New Material Night or something like that. And I was thinking, oh, I'm gonna make this new material really, really work. I'm just thinking how I'm going to go to this new material night. And then I stopped and I thought, no, I'm going to make people laugh. So that's what I did. And yeah, I had a great new material night. So it's really important to articulate, because that's the way you will execute. That's the way you will do it. I sometimes, I have really noisy neighbors, but that's not what grinds me down. It's just the fact that they're not very considerate, and because it's London, it's natural. But sometimes, I'll have a horrible night's sleep because they're just, they got loads of kids and dogs and everything upstairs, wooden sort of floors, but they just don't care. That's the element. But that would make me feel really, sometimes it really grind me down. But, I'll get up in the morning and I'll think, God, it's great to be alive. And I'll make sure that I will say that aloud. Now, that in a way, it's an affirmation, but in a way, it's just like, it's connecting to your brain. It's connecting to you physically. It's great to be alive. And I'll smile, and I'm like, oh yeah. And then it'll be like, yeah. That's the rest of the day. I'll remind myself of that, and it's kind of like it really is. I'll do something, and I'll, what I can control, and it's like it's exciting.
It is, and I think, oh God, yeah, like with and as well as for me, I do struggle a lot as well with again, not the idea of like people being noisy, or I think it's more of a being inconsiderate. That's really
that's it. Yeah.
And with same with like apparently because with borderline is like this sort of thing where you're like what's the word, you tend, and I have historically tend to, I see people either good or bad rather than being like a person with like good behavior or like bad behavior. It's easy for my brain to I guess like tag something, or this is bad people, this is good people. So it's and I feel every time I go through situations like this, I think it usually happens because I got like sensory overload sometimes, which is weird because I do comedy, so I am around lots of like a lot of things happening. And it's funny because it doesn't happen on stage. Like on stage, actually, whatever happens around, I can still see things clear. But then, if say we're talking now, if the TV was on and say I don't know someone else was chatting, I probably wouldn't. I would just freeze. I wouldn't be able to actually think.
Sure.
But then I would be annoyed at everyone around me, going like, "Oh, you don't care about the fact that I'm having a conversation. The TV doesn't care," and it's really wild that you said it. But I agree. Sometimes it's, and again, I think to me it was really strange because I always found it cheesy, and I think one of the things I actually found was meditating doesn't just mean like sitting still with your eyes closed. You can meditate or like you can be not meditate, being mindful. You can be mindful in any given situation. I think actually when I was getting like the coffee ready, I just used that time because I actually had a pretty like a rough morning, and I messed up something because I double booked by accident, and all I thought was like
because we changed
this, and well, it was my fault, but
we could have changed this again. I don't.
No, because one was outside and one was inside, and then like when I saw your email, I was like, I'm not gonna be. Oh yeah, actually no. But anyway, when I make the coffee,
don't edit that out.
Oh no, it stays there. But when I was making before I made the coffee, I was like, oh God, like what's gonna happen? I don't know what's gonna. My head was just like. I think I was just like close to like just like virtually just like banging my head on like on a wall. And then when I made the coffee, I was like, no, you know what? I'm just going to focus on making the coffee. And actually, funny enough, I've never made. This is the first time I made the coffee the way I made it. Because usually Irene knows how to use that.
Plunger?
No, it's like a cafetiere, but it's the one where you put like water at the bottom, and then you
gotta tap it down. You gotta wait until the boil.
And I know how to make other types of coffee. Like my mom used to make Turkish coffee, and but I actually anyway. But then I thought I just want to make the coffee. I just want to think about making the coffee. You're here, you're in the living room. You're like, doing your stuff. I just need to, and I did, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna make the coffee. I was like, okay, cool, it works. Now let's do the next thing. And it was so helpful. It was so like
you break it down, man. You chunk things.
Yeah, I guess it's strange because again, like every time when I used to hear it years ago, I was like, nah, this doesn't sound like it sounds like a fairy tale, sort of scenario. You're like, oh yeah, how I'm happy about this, and then I daily I have to remind myself, and even at times it sometimes doesn't work. Sometimes I think over the weekend, because I did mention to you that we had the neighbors. Someone tried to like break in. Apparently,
that's stressful, man.
And we woke up. But the reason why I woke up is because the neighbor's son got this like how do you call it? This like person who tried to break in, the intruder, in a headlock.
Oh my gosh.
And basically, and the intruder was like whining, and I woke up to that, and I genuinely thought it was a fox trapped in a.
Oh my gosh.
In a trap. And throughout the whole day, I didn't sleep well, and I also got late on Friday night from a gig in Ealing. It took me ages to get home. And I was like, oh, this today is going to be like such a shit day. And at times, I think when everything kind of things went wrong, because I went to work and then someone started talking about like conspiracy theories, and it was very wild. But
Right.
yeah, apparently Gaddafi was a misunderstood person as well. Yeah, this is the whole trend now.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so I was listening to it. I was like, oh, I feel the world is just winding me up. And I just put my headphones on and I started listening to Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
And just like still doing my work, and I was like, okay, fine, let's change it, and it worked. You know, it worked to just, I don't know. Again, like the what's the word? The things that you wouldn't, I guess the cheesy things sometimes do, do work, and it's yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it's important the way we sort of form those memories and those thoughts, and the way we I mean, a lot of comedians talk to themselves. I mean, that's what we do. I mean, sometimes I find that I don't speak. I forgot who I spoke to. Talked about it, that there are days. There's like a day where you don't speak to anyone. And it's really odd. So you're just the one talking to yourself, and so those things are important when you talk to yourself.
Did you know that actually sometimes apparently some people don't have an inside voice?
Wow.
I heard that recently. I was interviewing another like great artist who's like a comics creator.
Yeah.
And she was saying that apparently, yeah, some people don't have inside voices. And
Wow.
how do you?
I don't know. There's a book called Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, who famously says that it's life, navigating the life is about not letting go of that internal voice. So it's a fascinating book, but I find that now, yeah, if they're negative thoughts, I will say I will have that internal conversations. What the fuck are you talking about? This is great. You know what I mean? Or it's just like, all right, well, we'll work it out.
That's amazing. How? Because again, my negative thoughts sometimes do tend to take over. How'd you do that? Like that sounds. I'm really.
I believe it's when I'm generating material and ideas and things like that. I don't think that I think it's important just to let go of all of that, and I tend to do that, and I tend to do it sometimes, unfortunately, on stage for audiences. But I find that it's really important because I find. Because I do tutoring as well, and I'm writing material and things like that. Yeah, I've had some clients, and we do it, but it's just mostly about generating material. And I've done the angel workshops before, and I always find it fascinating if people who are writing in their second language, how crazy it is that people will write in English. And I said, stop writing in English. Write in your mother tongue. And it's just because that's what makes you different. Because immediately what you do is you put another editor on because this is the way you think it should sound versus what is really what you find is funny.
Well, can I ask you then a question?
Of course.
It's actually I guess it's an introduction maybe to the tutorial. But I'm just generally curious because I thought, and because I write, obviously, I speak English as a second language.
Yeah.
I try to speak, but I thought that you're meant to do it in like the voice that's, I guess, in your head. Because for example, when I write jokes, and I did try when I went to Romania, I tried to do a comedy set in Romanian, and I couldn't write in Romanian, which is actually strange. Because every time I think of something funny, for some reason, it's in English.
Yeah.
Would that still be the case, or would you still say, "Oh, maybe I should try practicing in Romanian just to"?
I don't know. The thing is, Levi, I think is like you think that process within itself. You have the idea, you put it through the English filter, which is the culture, which is everything. Then you put it back through your Romanian filter.
Right.
Other people will think. It's like no, just think what's fucking funny and just do it. And in your voice, I mean, It is. There's a reason why. You know, my ex-wife is French. There's a reason why you will count in French. You will count in French. You will not. You will. There's a reason why, because you're connected culturally, physically to that language.
I do count in Romanian.
You.
We're going to.
So what I'm saying is that there's a reason why you do that. So you have a physical connection to those thoughts. Why are you not doing it? You're going through the TV, you're going through Netflix, you're going through the Chris Rock special, you're going through all that. No, at the heart of what we talked about before, the authenticity is going where you come from, because that's the interesting place as well. Because why do I want to hear? Why do I want to hear a Nigerian doing English through English? Why do I want to hear? I want to hear that person's standpoint and their type of humor, and them working it out to see how it connects with me. I don't. The skill is yes. There's skill. There are particular skills, no doubt. Speak smoothly. Don't ask questions. Show me your unreliable narrator. Very simple canons of comedy, stand-up comedy. But you when somebody comes from a different point of view and grasps all those simple things that need to be done on stage for someone to understand, to connect to that world, that's the main thing. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and I'm actually speechless, because as I was listening to you, and then also in my head I was like, yeah, no, I do count in Romanian, and it's a nice. I'll keep that, because it's such a nice. And I know I sometimes struggle, like, oh, what's the point of this? And I guess that's another, like, as in, like, when I'm writing something, I'm like, what do I actually want from this? Like, where am I going with this? And that's a very, very good point.
And you think, oh, well, and also I think it's really important. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but what it is that we question all this, because I think we think about others quite a lot, right? We think about that, and I don't do that now. I don't think about. I think primarily, how am I going to connect to the audience? So what happens is that changes. If somebody comes to see you in your hour, that's what you should be, and then you develop your skills in order to be able to do that at top secret for 5 or 10 minutes or whatever. That's different. It's a different thing, because they're not there to see you. It's just like, most comedy nights, it's just like, I'll come on stage and say, oh, right, here's another person you've paid not to see. And so you have to be very aware of the situation.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're writing things, or when I'm writing things, I will think, right, okay, this is something, like I'm writing things about a pen right now. Which
I love it. I've seen
the UP 1x7,
my God,
0.7 millimeter black. I've written a song about it now. And it's just like, but the thing is also, people will enjoy, sometimes it's all it is about the rhythm of what you're saying. It's enjoyable. Sometimes we over-intellectualize this sort of stuff. I remember back in the day where I used to go into Comet, and Comet was an electrical supplier where you could get like washing machines and radios and stuff like that, right? Back in the day. But there was this man, and he would always try to sell me insurance for these washing machines. It costs like £50 a month, and if it breaks down or whatever, it's something like that.
Yeah.
Right? I was never going to buy insurance, right?
Yeah.
But I would let him talk to me about the insurance, because it was such an enjoyable experience. He was so good. And I would do that, and I would just enjoy him talking about the insurance, about why it would be good, and his ability to sort of connect and all that sort of stuff, his charm, his wit. And he was just always full of alacrity and emotion and passion. and I just enjoyed that. I would let him talk, and we forget sometimes that's all it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'm no, I genuinely I'm this has been. I mean, I had
Not what you expected.
no what I expected, but it's also I think this is why I also love doing this, because I love I love just like listening, and I think I've only found recently as well that I find, because I find people fascinating, and I find that
Ditto.
listening to someone's story and listening to like someone's like point of view, and even though again I did notice that sometimes I don't agree with people, but I'd still, again, to a certain, there are limits to that, but I still I love listening to it. I want to know what's going through someone's head, and I think this was really impressive, and not as if it's like I'm too impressed, but I to me it was just like wow.
Yeah.
But also I was going to ask, you also said something earlier that really made me very interested to ask you this now.
Sure.
You were working you were doing like you were saying you were working you were working as a writer, right?
Yeah.
But you were doing loads of classes on different things. What made you be like this curious? Because you're saying you studied history.
Yeah.
Like you do history class, you do like
At
acting,
night.
you do comedy, you do.
Yeah.
Why? Like, how did you become?
Well,
I
it
guess
was important. It was important as a creative person, and I think it all made sense. It's all fit into the puzzle later, where you have to be very interested in the world to be an actor. To be an actor, to know. I mean, I was, oh my gosh, even just a simple job where I was doing. It was for an app, and I had to memorize all these things about. Budgets being forecasted on a three-month payback period, and projecting historicals, and I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. But you have to be interested about the world, and also exercising all those pathways in the brain, because you have to be well, you don't have to be, but it's I find it useful to just exercise all those parts of the brain, trying to be curious. It all feeds into your point of view, and there's other things where I'm lacking. I'm not a very political person. I'm very, I love history. In fact, I studied that at university, political science. Because I thought, oh, well, that's because I like stories.
What's your favorite? I guess like what is it that you? I guess most like favorite
dictator.
Gaddafi? No,
Like Gaddafi. He had a look. He definitely had a look.
No, well, I'm just. What's your favorite like historic period? To study? Because mine is because of I inherited from my dad. It's actually, it's like post-World War. So like the 40s to 60s and 40s to 80s. Yeah, because he loved it, and it's really interesting because I think the part of Romania where we come from got stuck between, got divided by USSR. So some of his family was in Ukraine, what's now Ukraine, but it was actually Romania.
Oh my God. Ceausescu.
Yeah, well, it's even before that. It's like after the Antonescu got killed, which was like the general of the army and the ruler of the country when we had a monarchy.
Yeah.
So our Rishi. And he got trialed, he got killed, and then that's how the Communist Party got involved, made the King Michael to run away. Like basically, they made him leave the country.
Yep.
And that's the bit of history which I loved the most. And I found it, and also I think I found it because it was closer to our times, and like it made sense because I think, obviously, no disrespect to like the kings from like emperors back in the day riding horses, but that, even though I love Greek mythology,
Yeah.
I don't remember much, but I remember loving reading about like the Roman Empire. I was like, that's too far. Like I can't because I can't picture it. You know, I can't. I'd go to castles, and Romania is beautiful for like all like temples and things. Like you see the ruins, and
Yeah.
but I was struggling to actually picture it. Oh, what was it like in those days? While with the I think it's the interbellic period, and then anything after the Second World War,
Yeah.
I can see it. Like I walked. I actually met someone from Ukraine over the weekend, and I was
Right.
saying that you go in Chernovutz, which is a city in Ukraine, and you see the bricks, they are the same ones that were from the Austro-German, Austro-Hungarian occupation. So that's even before the SSR.
Yes.
And it feels like, I'm here. Like I visualize it while with other, again, older bits of history. But anyway, what's your...
Well, I mean, I understand. Firstly, I understand about how it becomes more real for you because of the closer time period. Yes, I was shooting Jack Ryan in Budapest, and I was walking around and seeing some of the actual chunks where the machine guns had blown out, and then walking some of the streets, and just literally, not freaking out, but I could just hear the jackboots of the SS walking through. Just I understand how you can see it because it's not digitized in any way. There's no sort of hoardings that are lit, and it's very, very that brutalist kind of time period. And I understand that, but you are probably one of those people that colorize black and white films to help them understand that it actually happened.
Yeah.
And I think I like. I don't have a favorite period of history. I mean, it's just so tumultuous and so many things happen and so much knowledge to be mined from it. I mean, anything from Stoics of the, Epictetus, and just stuff that still applies today, I find is very exciting. The fact that Napoleon used to have, famously, when he would write letters, he'd have, 8 scribes around him while he would just shell out. Very, very, and before then, yes, I would think about ancient history and the Hittites and the Assyrians and the Phoenicians, and I was thinking, when I was studying, I was saying, let's get to fucking Rome, man. Let's get to Rome. I want to, fuck the Macedonians. But the thing is, one of the things that strikes me is that how people have have evolved, but so many things are still the same with human nature. And that is what fascinates me about going as far back as possible, and about the politics and the seeking of power, the sexual dynamics, those type of things have not changed. And I just say, oh my goodness, it's amazing. And what also amazes me is that there's so much knowledge. It's like have people not read their history about and how it's applied today, and about the mistakes that we make. I find that really fascinating. So I don't have a particular period. That's my answer to that.
Again, it's also because I want to make it's not as in my favorite, as in like, oh, I love those times. It's more of a I enjoyed reading about it.
Yeah,
and it's very strange. But I had no idea. So you went to Budapest, and you said you went to Bratislava as well.
Yeah,
you've traveled quite a bit.
Well, part of it was primarily through shooting stuff.
Of course.
You said you liked sort of Greek mythology and stuff. There's going to be something coming out on Netflix in 2024 called Kos, which I play Cadmus, and who is obviously, he was the king of Thebes, and it's a retelling of the Greek tales. So in this particular thing, I was in Valencia. That's going back to the thing, and we were. We shot in a very brutalist Franco kind of university, which was a setting we used for the underworld, where I greeted all the people who were who come to the underworld.
Wow.
So yeah, so that travel is usually linked to shooting things, and when I'm there, I tend to go try to meet people who are working in comedy, and introduce myself and see what's out there. So I try to do that as well.
That's so cool. And I'll when we wrap it up, I'll show you. We got a lamp yesterday, which is like a hand held lamp.
Yeah.
And I basically I walked. Irene was like, because we have two entrances anyway. Irene was at the other entrance, and I generally played, because that's what I remember. I played the I think the Hades. It was like the scene in like the Hercules, the animated movie, where I was like,
Hades,
"Welcome to the underworld."
Yeah, yeah,
and I was like,
yeah.
turned on the light. I was like, "Let me take you." And now when you said this, I was like, "Oh, only last night I was thinking about it."
Yeah, no, this is it's a really cool. It's I'm only in a couple of episodes, but it's it is starring David Thewlis and Jeff Goldblum. I don't, my scenes aren't with them. But it's really shot in a cool way, and it's re-envisioned. All the Greek tales, and like I'm in like this sort of like an office kind of suit and not suit and tie, but a shirt and a tie, and it's all shot. Hades and the underworld is all shot in black and white, and it's but it's gonna be fun when it comes out.
Wow. Well, I feel like I can speak with you for hours, but I really appreciate you. It's not two, it's one. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just weird. But yeah, sorry, just for everyone listening. Yeah, it says 2 hours on the screen, but it's actually 1 hour. But I really enjoy this.
Me too.
I don't want to take any more of your time now, but I'd love, and I'm sure we'll catch up again soon,
Great.
hopefully. Yeah. So what you said, obviously, you have there are loads of things happening, or like loads of things that you've been involved in coming up in 2024. Is anything in particular that we got to look out for? Where do people find you? What?
Well, you can see me on Instagram. I usually post everything, the updates on the gigs, and also the acting sort of things. I mean, I posted some stuff where I was doing some immersive acting for Salt, which was the Salt event, which was pretty amazing. It was in Tottenham. But also gig lists and upcoming sort of anything on Netflix or stuff on Insta. It's at Kiesewetter. RKIESEWETTER, and you can find stuff there.
Oh, it's okay. We'll have your we'll have the at in the bio section. Also, for anyone, actually, by the way, just so you know, we've reached, I think, a couple of days ago, over 100 listeners in the first 4 episodes. Yeah,
Great.
16 countries.
Awesome.
So far, which is pretty cool. So yeah, thank you everyone for that. Thank you for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate you. You got loads going on. I'm really grateful. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for inviting me.
Take care.
Thanks, Levy. Bye. Okay, you happy?
Well, I hope you enjoyed this. I know for a fact that I did. It was such a nice conversation with Rick, and please make sure to follow me, follow him, and on social media. Especially him. I guess he's he took the time to do this, and he's just been a wonderful person to chat with. I'm looking actually forward to have him again eventually. However, before I go, I just gotta give you a little bit of an insight on something very exciting. Me and my partner are looking to adopt a cat. So we're looking at some foster, I guess like charities, like foster places where we can get to start what we'd like to call it our family, And I love William to bits, but he's far away from me. He's back in Romania, and I just want I'm just so selfish like this, you know. I just want someone to give me their love and attention, and in exchange, I'll give them a roof and food, you know, and a lot of love, a lot of kisses, and a lot of cuddles. But anyway, I hope I'll give you some exciting updates on the cat next week. But that's it for now. Bye.